Hey guys, it's David over here at InvestQ, and I do got a curious question for you. Have you ever been curious and just wondered why companies like Rigetti or what you see on your screen right now, D-Wave Quantum Incorporated, QBTS, you got IonQ and even Inflection, why they have become some of the hottest stocks on Wall Street right now? Um, in my opinion, many investors do believe that quantum computing could become one of the biggest technological revolutions since artificial intelligence. Now, that's one side of the sentiment. The other side would be that investors believe it's still years away from meaningful commercialization. So today, I'm going to explain quantum computing as simply as possible. And what we're going to cover is what quantum computing actually is. For those of you that don't know, just give a brief summary on that. The biggest opportunities that quantum computing presents, the biggest risks, the industries that could completely change, and why investors are paying so much attention to quantum. So let's get started. So again, also guys, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're interested in tools to help utilize in your investing strategies and trades, feel free to check out the second link below for full access to Prophecy for a $7 7-day trial. So anyways, let's get to the basics of this. Today, the computers that we have today, they use bits. A bit is either a 0 or a 1, and every calculation your phone or laptop performs comes from billions of these tiny binary calculations. And quantum computers work differently because instead of bits, they use something called qubits. And without getting too technical, a qubit can exist in multiple states simultaneously, and this allows certain calculations to be performed dramatically faster than classical computers. Now, this doesn't mean quantum computers replace your laptop. That's not the case. What they're designed for is for solving incredibly difficult mathematical problems that would overwhelm even today's fastest supercomputers. So I want you to think of classical computers as incredibly fast calculators, while quantum computers are specialized machines designed for solving impossible optimization and simulation problems. Now, I want to be clear. This is just the takeaway and the descriptions I'm giving. This is my brief summary. So if I made any mistakes, please let me know in the comment section below if there are any corrections that I should have made in that summary. But overall, in my experience investing in quantum, that's what I've seen, and that's how I would describe it. Now, the next thing is talking about the sentiment, the excitement, and the hype around quantum is because Wall Street is very excited. And if you're asking why Wall Street is so excited for quantum, it's because quantum computing reaches, if quantum computing reaches its potential, it could impact industries worth trillions of dollars. So instead of making computers 10 times, or not 10 times, but 10% faster, or even, let's even go crazy and say even 100% faster than what they're at right now. Quantum computers could solve certain problems that would otherwise take traditional computers thousands or even millions of years. And that is something that I have heard many times from people in management in interviews that are in quantum companies. I have heard that talked about many times, that they solve problems that classical computers can't at a much faster rate that would take thousands or millions of years for classical computers to solve. So that is the specific reason why it is governments and large corporations, or even universities and investors overall are investing billions into this technology. So when we take a look at the overall thesis from the bearish perspective, and the bullish perspective, let's start off with the bull case for the stock, or not the individual stock, but for the market of quantum as a whole. So the bullish argument is pretty simple because first off is computational power, because some optimizational problems become exponentially harder for classical computers, and quantum computers could eventually solve many of these at a much faster rate. Second would be the addressable market. The addressable market is absolutely enormous because we're talking about markets such as healthcare, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, shout out to SEALSQ LAES, defense, finance, energy, chemicals, logistics, and manufacturing. And every one of these industries depends on solving complicated mathematical problems. And the better you solve these problems, the more money companies save. Third, governments around the world are aggressively funding quantum research. Obviously, there's a big competition if you are unaware of, and countries such as the United States, Europe, China, Japan, and many others are racing. All these countries are racing to be the leaders in quantum technology. And this isn't just about business, it's also about national security. Quick reminder before we continue, if you're enjoying the content and want to connect with the community, check out the first link below for the free InvestQ community. And if you want access to advanced stock research and tools, the second link is a Prophecy 7-day trial for just $7. And last, if you want daily market updates and behind the scenes content, follow me on Instagram using the third link in the description. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, when you flip it over and look at the bear thesis, oh, and also don't forget, just the fact of the matter, speaking of governments, don't forget that obviously the value that the government sees in quantum is obvious due to the press. It's pretty obvious with the press releases and the news we have received in the previous weeks, including the 2 executive orders that Trump signed recently to fund quantum computing. I'll pull this up for you right now. Orders, quantum. Just wanted to give you that visual right here, guys. So yeah, there you go. Just wanted to point that out without backtracking too much. I just didn't want to forget that. Now, the bear case. Sorry about that. The bear case, the bear thesis for the stock is commercialization. What they argue is that commercialization could still be many years down the road. Now, the thing about that is, the reason for that and why they feel that could be the case is because even though that they're building this up right now, today's quantum computers are still relatively small in the grand scheme of, or not even the grand scheme of things, just right now, at this very time, quantum computers are still considered relatively small. And many require temperatures colder than outer space just to operate. So pretty freezing temperatures. And scaling them is still very difficult to do right now. And another issue that I want to bring up is that most quantum computing companies generate very little revenue today. So many continue to burn through significant amount of cash, and they invest heavily into R&D, research and development. So if technological milestones are delayed, investors could eventually lose patience in the quantum market. And this is why on Wall Street, many analysts refer to quantum as a possibility of quantum winter. So in other words, expectations become too high, progress can slow, and investment can dry up for the overall market. Now, the first industry that could completely change, to be clear, would be pharmaceuticals, because drug discovery does take years, and sometimes it can take more than a decade. Yeah, I would say that's a proper timeline to assume. So, one major reason is because scientists must simulate incredibly complicated molecular interactions, and that classical computers struggle with. They struggle with these specific types of simulations. And quantum computers naturally model quantum mechanics, making them much better suited for these specific types of problems. Another industry that could be affected in a positive way would be finance, because finance, they obviously do present another massive opportunity for quantum, because banks solve optimization problems every single second. They also got to worry about portfolio optimization, risk management. The optimization problems that are included would be portfolio optimization, risk management, derivative pricing, fraud detection, Monte Carlo simulations, and quantum algorithms are what could eventually evaluate thousands of possible outcomes simultaneously right then and there. Instead of approximating the best portfolio, they may identify far more efficient risk reward combinations. And banks right now are currently experimenting with this type of technology. And companies that are included would be JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, and Credit, or I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, but Credit Agricole have all announced quantum research initiatives with companies like IBM Quantum, QCware, Pascal, Toshiba, Sienna, and Multiverse Computing. And the third industry I want to talk about would be logistics, logistic and supply chains. Because imagine you're trying to optimize thousands of delivery trucks, airplanes, also airplanes, cargo ships, and warehouses simultaneously. Every additional destination creates exponentially more possible routes, and quantum computers are exceptionally well suited for optimization. So, potential applications include reducing fuel costs, improving airline schedules, optimizing delivery routes, managing global shipping disruptions, and even a small improvement in logistics efficiency could save billions of dollars annually. And there are many other industries that we can consider, but we're not going to cover them in this video today. But I do want to discuss one of the biggest concerns. That is, ironically, actually, is that the same technology that creates enormous opportunities could also create enormous amounts of risks. And one major concern is something that is called Y2Q, or year to quantum. And today's encryption systems protect banks, government, governments, military communications, healthcare systems, cryptocurrency, and a lot of the internet. So, a sufficiently powerful quantum computer could eventually break many encryption methods using algorithms. And if that happens, many current cybersecurity systems would need to be replaced. Now, fortunately, governments and technologies, uh, government and technology companies are already preparing the transition, and this transition is called post quantum cryptography, or what you've heard many times. The acronym would be PQC. So companies are investing billions to upgrade encryption before quantum computers become powerful enough to threaten existing systems. Now, what this specifically means for investors is quantum computing is obviously it's still an emerging technology, and the risks are still there. They're still quite substantial. And commercial adoption, while there have been signs that things are being sped up, it still could take many years. So, and don't forget the fact that obviously they still generate little amounts of revenue, and a lot of these companies are still very unprofitable. But on the flip side, I want you to take into consideration that the long-term opportunity is difficult to ignore, because we're talking about a technology with the potential to reshape, they could be reshaping medicine, finance, artificial intelligence, energy, cybersecurity, manufacturing, and countless other industries. And whether every quantum company succeeds is impossible to know. But the technology itself has attracted enormous investment from governments, major corporations, and Wall Street. And that alone makes it one of the most fascinating sectors to follow over the coming decade. So, the next few years will likely determine which companies become the leaders in quantum computing. So, overall, what do you guys think about quantum? Let me know in the comment section below. And feel free, if you did enjoy the content, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. And again, if you guys are looking for help with your investing and you're looking for more tools to utilize to assist you with any trades or investments, feel free to check out the second link below to get full access to Prophecy for a $7 7-day trial. So with that being said, guys, David Figueroa at InvestQ out. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys.